you are back with comedian Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So, do you cunts want an update on the Russia-Ukraine war? Do you cunts want an update about geopolitical fucking warfare from an ex-alcoholic waterproofer? Is that what you want? Is that what you came here for? Because if it is, strap in, because that's what you're getting. I'm reading a lot of books though, so I don't know how much that counts for. Probably not a lot, because a lot of it gets lost in the dark web, which is what I call my brain. A lot of missing information in there, but I'm pretty sure it's all going to the subconscious, the cloud, and it's getting all processed there so I can make decisions in my conscious being. Anyway, I've been getting into like drone warfare, what's happening with that. Well, I'll just tell you what's happening, what I perceive is happening in the Russia-Ukraine war. Russia is absolutely trouncing Ukraine at the moment. They're moving very slowly. But the way these wars work now, it's all drone. It's fucking intense. It's basically the new super soldiers are just autistic kids. Just some kid with a yo-yo, no eye contact. Just jump in there, son, and find these fucking tanks. So, from what I can gather, it's very hard to gain territory with the new fucking drone tactics. And Ukraine apparently is like on par in drone technology with Russia. The only problem is Russia is producing like 40,000 military grade drones per month, and the Ukraine are not making 40,000. And just by sheer force of number, Russia are rolling over Ukraine. And despite what you hear, they're not taking that many casualties, but the Ukrainians are taking a lot. And recently, Lavrov, the foreign minister of Russia, number 2, the 2IC of Russia, you've got to listen to this guy speak. He's so fucking articulate. He speaks in English as well. He's one of the only Russian guys that does. He studied at fucking one of the Ivy League universities in the US. I think it was Yale or Princeton or something like that. So he knows his shit. Anyway, he basically said, we are still open at this very moment. We are still open to peace talks. But because the Zelensky regime is so stubborn, he doesn't hold out much hope. He said there'll be no ceasefire, because basically a ceasefire means the Ukraine and Zelensky and the West are just going to take that time to restock supplies, and the Russians have a major upper hand at the moment, so they're not going to take a 30-day break to, well, basically fucking take the foot off the throat. But he said, because I don't know if they released it, but it was either today or yesterday, they released a memorandum of demands for a peace deal. And Lavrov was basically like, you're not going to like it, but you have no choice. We're not stopping until either these demands are met or there's a complete surrender, unconditional surrender of the Ukraine to Russia. And one of the unconditional points in the memorandum and a peace negotiation is the replacement of Zelensky. They said we cannot leave Zelensky in. He's like, we've been trying to negotiate a peace deal with him for 2.5 years now, 3 years. We had hope Trump would come in. Nothing's happened there. Europe's gone wild. He's like, we have to replace that regime. Unless that happens, there'll be no peace deal. And the Russians are actually opening up a new front in the north, a brand new front. The Russians every single month are breaking recruitment targets. Like, you got to understand, like, if you listen to Putin and Lavrov and even Medvedev, if you remember Medvedev, he was the president. Well, he was the prime minister and then he became the president, and Vladimir Putin was the prime minister. Remember that? Like, it was about 4 years. Putin was like, I'm stepping down, and Medvedev is taking over. And then Medvedev was president and Putin was prime minister, but Putin was still running the show. Anyway, this Medvedev guy, he seems like a bit of a fucking war hawk. He's not interested in negotiations. He's like, if it was up to me, we would just be fighting until complete surrender of the Ukraine. And you also got to remember, the Ukraine is basically fighting a proxy war for the West. It's fucking getting wild out there because Russia, and they've said it, like, that's what I was about to say. They're like, we are now fully mobilized. We're in a war. Like, they're basically mobilizing like they're in World War III already. This is an existential threat to Russia. So every soldier, every factory, the whole economy, fucking every industry, all the resources are going into the war effort now. And from what I can tell, they think it's going to get bigger than just this Ukraine thing. The fucking German, these fucking European leaders, they're the absolute fucking worst. This German president, Merz or whatever the fuck his name is, he came out yesterday or the day before and said he's lifted range restrictions on Ukraine weapons heading into Russia. Basically, he's saying we're going to give Ukraine weapons, and we're going to give them weapons that can reach into Russia, like into Moscow and shit like that. And Russia are basically like, yeah, Germany, if we see one fucking missile come from you cunts who we fought to the absolute fucking death with twice last century, if we see one missile come over, you cunts are so fucked. And Germany isn't what Germany was back then, but Russia is. Germany has just spent the last 80 years ashamed of their military, ashamed of what they did in the world wars, ashamed of themselves. They opened up to immigration, so they diluted the German population. People in Germany do not have the stomach for it anymore. Whereas Russia has just spent the last 80 years teaching the history of Stalingrad and the defeat of the fucking Nazi soldiers in World War II and the heroic efforts of the 20 million soldiers. That's drummed into them, sacrifice for the motherland. And they didn't get swamped with immigration. So the people in Russia are fully Russian and they're fully on board and they fully think they're in war now. And they are in war, but they're preparing for something much bigger. They think there's going to be a fucking full-blown European war. That's what I think anyway. And these European countries, I don't know, unless it's like a full-on self-destruct thing, but France, Germany, England, even Spain. I think Spain's getting on board. The Netherlands, I think they're involved as well. Like, it's Russia. You've got absolutely no fucking chance. Maybe at the start of this war, there would have been a chance when Russia were a bungling mess, but Russia have just spent the last 4 years refining tactics, refining equipment, testing everything. They're battle hardened now. Army versus army. Their drones are meant to be fucking insane. I watched this thing where a drone operator, like the small ones, he He said they've fought a few US drones, and he's like, they're trash. He's like, the US aren't used to fighting against an actual army. They're used to chasing camels. That's what this guy said about the drones. He's like, they're good if you're chasing camels, but in army-to-army warfare, they just don't work. They're like toys. Anyway, I hope nothing breaks out, but fucking every single politician in every fucking place in the world just seems to be frothing for a fucking war at the moment, and none of them are listening. None of them are listening to the people. The people have no appetite for war. No one's interested. I suppose no one's ever really interested in war. Anyway, fucking that'll do it for tonight, and I'll see ya the fuck later.